Hi Soul Tribe, this is Renee Asiri with InsideJobHealing.com. Hope you are surviving and thriving in these very intense supermoon energies of Scorpio. So we have the supermoon in Scorpio because it's closer to the earth than normal. And as you know, the moon affects our internal emotions. It affects the ties, right? It affects us on a very deep internal emotional level. And Scorpio is a sign that is ruled by Pluto and Mars. It's a very deep sign, a very emotional sign. And it's also a sign, especially if you're Scorpio moon, sun, or rising, it's a sign that kind of keeps their emotions to themselves, right? Hides those deep, deep emotions, and they feel so deeply, but just don't allow a lot of people in. So what does that mean for us, right? I happen to be a Scorpio moon, so I'm feeling this on a very, very deep level. And also if you're a Cancer, because you're ruled by the moon, any full moon or new moon activity is going to affect you very deeply if you're a Cancer, sun, moon, or rising. So check your birth chart for that on astro.com. So essentially what that means is right now as a collective, we're really feeling these supermoon energies because the moon is closer to the earth. So it's impacting us in a much stronger way. It's kind of like, if you think about it, it's the moon is, it's like bringing out our internal emotions that we've been suppressing for months. And we've had this Uranus and Saturn year-long square, right? And that has been kind of pushing us to step out of the old, out of the status quo, and bring some really, really major change into our life, because Uranus is the planet for sudden change, and Saturn is the status quo, restriction, fear, limitation, the past, very karmic planet, right? And Scorpio is very karmic, and full moons bring things to a conclusion, to an end, right? And so right now we are bringing karmic, old karmic negative patterns of the past to an end. And we are starting anew, right? So this is a very big deal, guys. So, it's funny because for the last few months, astrologers, have been saying that like we're moving fast because all the planets are direct. Well, I've been saying that I don't really feel that we've been moving that fast. I spoke about this last week and the week before, it's like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. And so I just kind of feel that even though all the planets are direct, we're not totally full speed ahead. And why is that? Because we've had Neptune squaring the nodes, right? And we have the North Node in Gemini. And so we've had, planet called Neptune, who's, it's the planet of spirituality. It rules Pisces. It's also a planet of haziness and confusion. And so we've had a lot of haziness and confusion. And I kind of alluded to that a few weeks ago. And so that was happening October of last year until March of this year. So even though the planets have been direct for the most part, right, the past few months, we have been feeling like we're not moving full speed ahead. And now today's Tuesday, we have Pluto stationing to go retrograde. So now we actually do have a planet going retrograde, right? So what does all this mean? It means that because we've had this kind of like Neptunian effect, things have been going on and moving behind the scenes on a subconscious, unconscious level. So we've been clearing any addictions or self-sabotage or lack of self-worth or any internal blocks that have been preventing us from really, birthing this new paradigm and timeline. Because a lot of times if we don't feel worthy of what's coming, we're going to block it, right? Unconsciously. And so that's what's been happening. And this rings very true to me because I feel like we've been working our ass off, those of us that are trying to usher in this new paradigm and this kind of like 5D timeline of heaven on earth. And then we have all this stuff going on in the collective. And so coming back to this supermoon that happened yesterday, and we're still going to feel the effects of it days before, days after, and even weeks, to be honest. So we're just kind of like, okay, so we planted the seeds back in December with the Sagittarius moon, and now we're kind of, moving, like this moon is like drudging up all of these deep emotions that are unconscious and subconscious and so deep below the surface that we have not wanted to face, right? And with this kind of like going back to the Uranus and Saturn opposition, right, that is going on for a year. And so when we're dealing with that, it means that we're trying to make change, but like the old and the karma is like blocking us. And it's super frustrating, guys. And so that's what some of the emotions that we're feeling on a collective level. We're feeling this sense of restriction. A lot of our rights are being taken away. Now they're talking about introducing a V passport to travel to Europe. And listen, guys, you know me, I'm not political. I'm not going to shove my beliefs down your throat because I don't believe in that. I believe that every single human on this planet has free will. But I believe that mainstream media and the powers that be have this agenda, and they are taking a lot of people's free will away. And a lot of people are tired. We are exhausted, guys. This has been over a year of this Uranus-Saturn, opposition on a cosmic level, and then all these restrictions, all these rules, and the wearing the masks and getting the V, and now people are having V shedding, and so people who aren't getting the V are scared of people that are getting it, and potentially introducing like mutations like the coronavirus Indian variant. And so you have all this craziness. It's like it's causing so much separation, and like you have people that are getting the V scared of the people that are not getting the V, and you have people that are not getting the V scared of people that are getting the V. And the bottom line is that the powers that be thrive, just like the Matrix movie talks about. They thrive of people being anxious, of people being in fear, of people being disempowered. So you guys know I'm not political. I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Do what's right for you. I mean, I had a family member tell me, they're like, well, we're ingesting all this harmful stuff and, chemtrails in our food and toxins and stuff like that. So what's another toxin, even though it's going to alter his DNA? But the point being is he makes a really valid point. It's like we're surrounded by toxins. So, but for me personally, I know what my choice is. And for me, I'm going to remain sovereign and free, and I'm not going to inject something into my body. But that may that may end up me giving up travel, which is something I live for, I breathe for. But I've been so fortunate because before the coronavirus, I traveled to like 50, 60 countries, and I traveled around the world for a year. So I have no regrets. But this family member is younger. He's in his 20s. So I could totally see that. And so being sovereign, being a spiritual being is not judging, right? And it's holding space for all the different perspectives. So that's what I'm asking you guys to do, because this is separating family members, y'all. Like, I have family members that are getting the V. I have family members that are not getting the V. And it's just creating separation. It's creating like restriction and limitation with the fact that we're still wearing masks, whether we get the V or not. So we're just living in these very uncertain times. We don't know like what their main game plan is or what this agenda is, but basically it's to chip people according to the Pentagon, and to have people, with the V. And ultimately, this sounds like the plot of a sci-fi movie that I never thought that I would even watch. And I'm actually going back, and I was telling my friends, I am watching movies from the 90s and the 2000s to see what the full disclosure is, see what they're telling us in movies about cloning or uploading consciousness or, contagion and all the things that they're doing. I'm kind of going back and saying, well, what were they really trying to tell us? Because back then when I was watching those movies, I thought it was sci-fi. I thought it was fantasy, but guess what? Reality is stranger than fiction nowadays. And so I encourage you to do your research. So again, the reason I'm talking about all this stuff is because this is what's being brought up to the collective. Think about a motorboat that is going on this very still lake and is dredging up all the bottom of it and all this crud that's coming to the surface. And that's what this supermoon is doing. It's removing the stickiness, it's removing the blocks. So you have to get real with yourself, and all these emotions and all these frustrations and all these anger and all this sadness for humanity. I mean, so many of us that are starseeds, that are light workers, that are here, that are healers, that are here to help the planet. We came here, guys, from a future timeline where in the quantum field of possibilities, we knew that there was a possibility where the earth was, going to shit or going to blow itself up, or we're going to all be enslaved and our power is going to be taken away, right? And so we came here to help humanity. So a lot of us are feeling deep sadness and we're grieving, because if what's come to pass, if people are getting the V, and if in fact they're getting it every 6 months and introducing toxins to their system at such alarming rates, these people are radioactive sometimes with the stories and the blood clots. And so again, I'm not coming from a place of fear, but what if, guys, some of your family members that are choosing to get the V, what if they peace out? So we find ourselves in this very divisive time, in this time of separation. We're not even allowed to gather in large groups still. We're wearing masks, we're silenced, our power is taken away. Those of us that want to travel are being forced to take the V, even if they don't want to. And so we're in this crazy time, and we're going to have to face the fact that some people are going to peace out, right? So I know for myself, I've spent the last week grieving over some losses that are going to happen because I feel it, right? So there's all these emotions coming to the surface because of this supermoon. So what I encourage you to do is I encourage you not to shove it down, not to escape, not to emotionally eat, not to run away from your feelings, because we are super really great at that. I encourage you to let these feelings bubble up, whether it's sadness, whether it's frustration, whether it's I've been working my ass off and I don't see this new timeline being birthed. It is. It's just happening behind the scenes, subconsciously and unconsciously. And you just have to be a little bit more patient. And we are in a period of surrender with spirit. And we are in very challenging times where we have to be, we have to balance a lot of things right now. And so whether you're still angry that your rights have been taken away with the masks and the V and all that, you're going to have to process all that, guys. So bring all that stuff up, right? And bring it to the light of day, to your, awakened consciousness, and process it, right? So use these energies for that. And moreover, we don't only have the Uranus, and Saturn, opposition, but we also have the supermoon in Scorpio, which it doesn't like to be in, opposing the entire stellium of Uranus, Venus, Mercury, and the Sun in the sign of Taurus, right? And then we also have, the moon also T-squaring the Saturn in Aquarius. And Saturn in Aquarius is all about these future decisions, these commitments that we have to make to the future generations, right? So right now, this future timeline that we're trying to birth, it's not just for us, it's not just for selfish reasons. You guys have to think about these decisions, these changes that you're going to make right now, which Uranus is forcing us to do because it's in a sign it doesn't like, aka Taurus. It's forcing us to make these decisions, right? But Saturn, that's long lasting, right? That's for future generations. So what are you trying to bring in? Are you trying to birth, generational wealth? And are you trying to heal ancestral poverty or lack and scarcity? Like, these are some big things, guys, that we're being asked to do. So I invite you to do a lot of soul searching right now. You also have Mars going into Cancer, which it doesn't like to be in. And so maybe you've been feeling unmotivated, but you're being forced to make these big decisions that are going to impact you, potentially not just you, but future generations, right? So things are happening, things are moving. The super moon is definitely clearing things and ushering the way. But I just want you guys to be super real, to be in your power, to speak your truth, to feel what you feel, and stop suppressing and shoving it down. You don't need to be forcing your opinion on other people. Like, you don't need to be, if people ask me, I share videos, I share research, I have my own opinions, but you don't need to be going into the shadow aspect and shoving your opinion down other people's throats, because guess what? We are already having our free will and our power circumvented and taken away. And so really, this is a time for you to be in your power, to choose for yourself, do what's right for you. So if a family member says to you, I'm getting the V, and you disagree with it, just be like, you know what? I hope you've done your research. I love you. Do what's right for you. Because ultimately, guys, you can never change anyone else's mind. You can't make those decisions for anybody else. So just focus on you, focus on your future timeline. Know that it is happening, even though it's super frustrating because it's been happening behind the scenes. Just know that the super moon, as intense and as painful as some of these emotions might be, maybe you just have to face the mirror and be real with yourself and you know what? I am frustrated that this is taking so effing long, right? So just be real. You're going to survive this. And just to recap, Pluto is going into retrograde. It's stationing retrograde today. So be prepared. It's the planet of deep negotiation, change, death and rebirth, transformation. So we're in for a ride, guys. This is what you signed up for. Don't lose hope. You're here on this planet to spread your light for a reason. And even if even if things are getting pushed down on laws and things like that that you don't agree with, then exercise your right. Write your legislation. Join. Stand for freedom, for health freedom, or whatever organization you feel fit. And lastly, I highly recommend that you watch the documentaries with Demi Lovato, Dancing with the Devil, Simply Complicated, and the Justin Bieber documentary seasons, because we're all in this together. We're all dealing with trauma. We're all healing, and we're all coming out as the best version of ourselves. Love you guys. Rena with InsideJobHealing.com.